Hello.
Hey.
How y'all doing?
Good.
I need to put
Living the
my
dream.
keyboard. Oh, I can't get my keyboard thing open. Oh my goodness.
Hammer.
We'll move on to the next one. I have two. All right, so here's this. And now I need something I can steal batteries from. Apparently, I took the batteries out of it when I didn't need it anymore. Usually have a couple sitting around here. All right, I'll just wing it. Oh, no, I have to. Nope, those are too small. Anyway, we'll just go with the laptop one, I guess. Shall we call? Oh, is Rita coming?
No, she's at the doctor's.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Shall we call ourselves to order, Eric? Um, and then review the agenda, which I'll bring up real quick. Um, Basically, it's to sign the GZA proposal after having our questions answered. So, um, Nate, you are from GZA. Adrian, you also.
Yes.
We had some questions from last night, and one of them was, would you remember the line item? I don't have it in front of me, Haley. That Rita was asking about.
Yes. One of our select board members is not able to be here tonight, but she did have a question as to why let me just check her message really quick. Why the oversight costs were so high compared to the other items listed in the scope.
The oversight costs. Now we're talking about GCA services.
Mhm.
Okay, and the let's see. Let me get to that. Okay, so it's really an estimate based on. You're talking about the designer services during construction. Is that task
Yes.
5? Yeah.
Yep.
It's based on just a, a kind of a guess that this could be a 14-day project. So to have somebody out there every day for 14 days of work.
Okay.
I believe there's some reporting. That's another task. And so that, that could change. This is a time and materials proposal. So any of these things could come out hopefully less than what we've estimated.
Okay. And so when you say the 14 days, so I'm assuming that includes like nights, weekends, and that probably factors into the
I think we're
cost.
talking weekdays. I presume most
Weekdays. Okay.
contractors are not working weekends, and we generally don't. If it's extenuating emergency conditions, then we certainly would.
Eric, did you have any questions related?
No, that was really it, and I think Nat answered those questions, so.
Okay.
Um,
I didn't have any, only after that Rita had mentioned that queued in. Haley, did you have any other questions?
I think it might be helpful just to have GZA, either Adrian or Nat, if one of you can just kind of explain this process and what's involved, just so that, like, for the recording, so if people want to look back and get a more complete picture while we have to.
Are you talking about the construction process,
Yeah, and if
Haley?
maybe, yes, and maybe if you can just kind of touch on how we got to this point.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, let's see. Well, we've been working for the town for almost 3 years now, I think, providing maintenance services and permitting services on the dam. And last year or earlier this year, the town updated its emergency action plan on their own without our assistance, really. And so the personnel named for the town's engineer was GZA. So when Chief Zerwanek learned about the issue at the dam on the 28th, the day after Thanksgiving, he called me. And that's fortunate because I live in Northampton, so I was able to get up there easily. And so I met with him and Howard Kinder and Walter Tibbetts, and we all took a look at the issue. Clearly, there are holes forming in the upstream face of the dam, and there was water entering them. And then Walter informed us that the trash rack, which is kind of a bar rack on the upstream end of the low-level outlet pipe, was replaced with some of the repairs that were done in 2007, 2008. And since then, that trash rack has blinded up or gotten clogged with debris quite frequently. And he's the lucky one that gets to don a wetsuit and go in there and clean it out. What it turns out was happening, and we've known, and the previous engineer, Morris Root, had known that there was leakage going through the dam around the low-level outlet pipe that was inserted there in 2007. So it's an old stone rectangular or square culvert, the original outlet through the dam, and they sleeved a PVC pipe up through it, and they were supposed to seal it around the outside of the pipe. That didn't really get done properly. And so water leaks around the pipe as well as goes through the pipe when the slide gate in the gatehouse is opened. When it's closed, it seals off any water going around or into the pipe, which is good. It's intended to do that. But as soon as it's open, water can go around both sides of it. And for some reason, when that happens and you have the grate clogged, it creates a pressure differential between the lake and the gate, the water in the chamber, in the gate chamber. And so that puts more pressure on the face of the dam, on the upstream face of the dam, and water was getting forced through some weak points in the embankment fill material, the soil material that's piled up against the dam, and that started eroding internally. And Howard had noticed that in the discharge channel downstream, and there was sand in the channel. It's light-colored sand. It matched the sand that he was seeing, and he saw the holes upstream. And so we conferred about this and figured out what was going on. I contacted Bill Saloma, the director of the Office of Dam Safety, and he and I decided that we should draw the dam down immediately, and that our estimate was that those holes were probably within 2 to 3 feet of the surface. So we instructed Howard and Chief Cerwanka to draw the pond down 3 feet from there. From the current pool, which is the winter drawdown, is 2 feet below the spillway or normal pool. So that's what's been happening. That target was met last Saturday. I was last out there with Chief Cerwanka. We did a little measurement with a level and determined that we were just at 5 feet below the spillway. As you know, Haley, we met with the Conservation Commission last Thursday, and they approved the emergency certification for the drawdown. So going forward, we prepared a draft preliminary plan, which is one of the things required by, let me back up. On December 3rd, you were issued a dam safety order, an emergency action order with a number of requirements in it that you're supposed to meet. The letter comes off a bit threatening, but DCR is pretty forgiving if they know you're working on it. They know people don't have piles of money sitting around ready to throw into a hole in a dam. So,
Right.
So one of the requirements on that letter is within 7 days, you're supposed to submit a plan of action, a plan for repair. So we quickly threw together a preliminary plan, which is just a temporary solution to this problem to allow you to raise the lake back up to at least the winter pool level until more exploration and more and a permanent solution can be developed for fixing this leakage around the low-level outlet pipe. One of the things we expect DCR to require is what's called a phase 2 engineering evaluation and alternatives analysis, and it's an extensive and expensive study of the dam that requires soil, and in this case, borings through the masonry core of the dam, doing a hydrologic and hydraulic analysis, a detailed analysis, doing a stability analysis to see if the dam is prone to sliding under high flow conditions, or if it's just prone to possibly collapsing under a high flow condition. To my knowledge, none of those kinds of analyses have ever been done on Lake Wyola Dam. So we expect the Office of Dam Safety to order that because they've downgraded the condition of the dam to unsafe. And so what this preliminary plan that we've developed is intended to do is to bring the dam up to, I guess, like a poor condition. So at least it's not in such a critical state that that an unsafe condition is really kind of an emergency situation. And, so we submitted that plan last Friday, so we're a couple days past the 7 days. I've spoken to Bill Saloma. He says he has an engineer working on reviewing it. It'll get us an answer soon, I hope. I'll check in with him tomorrow on that. And then they say in the letter, in 14 days, you're supposed to have a contractor out there making your repair. That was Wednesday this week. So, and so we're and that's why we put together a quick kind of very rough estimate, probable opinion of potential cost for this repair, for you to discuss in last night's meeting, and welcome to ask questions about that now if you like. So that's kind of where we are. I think we, as you know, the funding that you're considering, approving our proposal under is being funded by the Executive Office of Energy Environmental Affairs Dam Levee and Seawall Repair and Removal Program. And you've been awarded a grant for the original deficiencies repairs that we identified in our inspection in May. And that was identified for our services to design and permit those repairs. And then the plan was to turn around and go back to EEA and ask for construction funding for that. This event has kind of turned that sideways. So we've spoken to Nick Bollins at EEA, and he's all on board with repurposing those funds for this emergency situation. So we have a message into him to see if there's other monies available, and if so, how does he want us to apply for them? And we're hoping that he's going to say, yeah, other projects have come in under budget, so there's some money available, and you can apply for it. Adrian, is there anything to add there?
Unfortunately, no. So I did submit to him the pre-contracting form today with a couple of questions just to make sure we're providing the documentation that he needs to be able to put it into his system and issue the actual contract to Administrator Bolton. And then that will allow the state to actually disperse funds to the town. And I did in that email tell him that, the costs are in excess of what the grant was, because it's now a construction project and not a design project. I called him this afternoon to follow up on my email, and I did get his voicemail. So I did leave him a voicemail, and I've not yet heard back. So I'm hoping to get in touch with him soon, like Nat said, to see if there's maybe additional funding available for the town. So no firm update, but we are seeking funding where we can to offset these costs.
We really appreciate that. And it's nice to hear, like, from an engineer's perspective, you're much more articulate about certain things than I was when I was conveying some of this information. I do have a couple questions that, as you were talking, I was kind of thinking about. So is any part of the original plan, like, are we totally abandoning that, or can any of that be incorporated into this construction project?
The original repairs?
Yeah.
Well, the original repairs were going to include some exploration, well, just sort of visual and maybe some dye testing, just to try to confirm what we thought was the leakage around the outside of the pipe, and then to include that in the plan to be repaired. But now that this is developed, we think that there's going to be probably a more significant repair and I don't really have a vision for what that is. But yes, to answer your question, I think all the repairs, which were fairly minor, there were some vegetation removal, a lot of masonry repairs in the spillway, trying to figure out what to do with this monitoring weir box, this seepage monitoring weir box that was just kind of plunked down in standing water, and there's no real source for where to put that, in terms of a source of leakage coming out that you can actually measure. So, but anyway, this a number of things in there that, yeah, we're really relatively minor. This is significant, and I think all this funding's going to need to go toward that.
So
That
my
makes
question
sense.
would be, are we anticipating more expense? I mean, in other words, what's the word? How complete will these repairs be? The amended repairs, the ones that they're advocating we do. Are they something that solves the problem, or are they something that says, okay, now we go to condition poor, and now we really spend money? Because I mean, I'm curious how that
Unfortunately,
works.
Eric, I think that's exactly where you're going, is that
Okay.
this is leading to well, it's a bit of an opportunity, because the state's got their eye on this now, and they want this fixed. So this is going to be a temporary repair, and it's going to allow, basically what's happening is the water is being drawn through the dam when the gates open. If the low level outlet pipe gets clogged up and the gate is open, water gets drawn through holes in the dam. And what we're going to do, our concept is to dig out all the soil around the low level outlet pipe up to the face of the dam and replace it with porous crushed stone, so that water can freely pass through there when the gate is open, and it won't be eroding soil from inside the dam. But that's a temporary measure. What we really want is probably like a concrete pipe surrounded in concrete going through the dam with a gate on it. So whether we can find funding to do that or not is in this current government funding environment, we'll see. But like I said, we're likely going to be scoped for, we meaning the town is going to be scoped for a phase 2 engineering analysis, and that will end up with an alternatives analysis where the engineer will say, this is the alternative that we recommend, and this is what it's going to cost. And then you turn around and use that to go for grant funding. The other thing, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, you might be getting to this point, but so if we did that, would that be kind of like what we need to get us back to like a fair condition, or perhaps better?
Yes, that is the intent with that. If this were not an emergency situation and you were just letting the dam go and not maintaining it, and your engineer inspected it and gave it a poor or unsafe rating, DCR would turn around and issue you a dam safety order to make the repairs. But in order to do that, you go through this step of, you have to do a phase 2 engineering analysis and alternatives analysis. You have to have periodic inspections done every 6 months, which they haven't mandated yet, but they may, I don't know, on Lake Wyola Dam. And then, and those have to be done by a professional engineer. And then you have to execute the alternative that comes out of the phase 2 engineering analysis. In some cases, that's an extensive repair. In other cases, it may be appropriate to remove the dam. Obviously, that's not appropriate here. So then you take that study and you turn around and you submit to EEA for grant money, and you hope that you get the funding.
How much money are we talking about here? I mean, I know I'm not asking for a quote, but I mean,
yeah,
just in terms of discussion, I mean, what are we talking about? What's the worst possible case? I mean, super round numbers, but any sense of that?
$500,000.
Hmm.
If we're going to do this right, and I guess my vision is, why are we going to tinker around with trying to inject grout or some kind of sealant around the pipe when you could be pumping stuff through there for days? It's going to find the voids in the stone and go in every which way direction, and you're never going to really seal it. My vision, if you really want to get this done right, is to pull the gatehouse off, remove the gate, cut out that section of dam and replace it, and then, re-engineer the upstream face. It's an opportunity also because the spillway is undersized. It does not meet the regulatory spillway design flood. So the dam can overtop in that flood. It's a high level flood that we're not likely to see, but is probable. And so the regulations require that a new dam certainly has to be able to pass the spillway design flood. If you get into that level of repair, it's an opportunity to redesign your spillway and meet the regulations for spillway passage. That's all going to be addressed in the phase 2 analysis. And then about the phase 2 analysis, there's a new round of grant funding coming out called Technical Assistance from the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. And we have just, on behalf of the town, submitted an application for that for the phase 2 study. It just came out. This is perfect timing to get that. So hopefully that will be mostly paid for, or actually that grant is 100%. There's no matching fund by the applicant. So, and Adrian, what did we apply for? What was the dollar amount?
You actually don't request a dollar amount for that one. It's set up differently. So you just say what your need is.
Right.
We submitted for a phase 2. The state then requests quotes from engineering firms. They get 3 or more quotes from selected engineering firms, and then they select a firm. They solicit the work, and they have the work performed, and then they share that work with the town. So the town doesn't have to issue a contract. There's no payment and then reimbursement. It's just the town doesn't actually have to worry about what the dollar value is, or like, oh, we requested 100,000, but the quotes came in at 108,000. We just said you need a phase 2 study.
Great.
And
I always like
EEA
that.
takes it from there. Yeah, it's a really nice one. So all that's happened so far is we submitted the town and the state confirmed the submission. The grant opened on the 9th, December 9th. So that is the progress to date.
So another question I would have is whether or not, and I know this might even be a tough one for you to answer, but whatever we did in 2000 and 2008, was that done improperly? Or should we be in this position where the dam is in the shape that it's in now, if in fact, significant repairs are made in 2007 or 2008?
Well, that is a tough one to answer with any sort of definitive level of confidence. I on the face of it looks like the repair of the low level outlet, inserting the PVC pipe in there, was not done properly, and I don't know what transpired there. I don't know if the engineer that designed it, Morris Root, if they were retained to do construction oversight and administration, if they were paying attention. Or if it was that they were not hired by the town, there wasn't sufficient funding to hire them, so the town kind of managed it, and I don't really know what happened there.
No, I don't know.
What I do know is from what I discovered with Walter Tibbetts and Howard, and was that the contractor did something that was just kind of unheard of, which was they stuffed rigid foam board pieces, kind of like masonry, in between the gaps around the pipe, and then they foamed it together with spray foam, and then they smeared some mortar over it, and that only lasted for a little while, and it's all kind of broken apart. When we were there on Friday the 28th, there were big chunks of foam floating around in the gate chamber. And when Walter and Howard and Chief Sidwonka went back there on Saturday to clean the trash rack, they were able to fish those pieces out of the gate chamber. And they're literally like big chunks of foam that are all kind of glued together. And you could see this kind of curvature to them. It was like, I'd never seen anything like that. It was clearly not. I would seriously doubt that Morris Root would have approved of that and would have designed anything like that and recommended it. But so yeah, to answer your question, it appears that it was done improperly, and who knows who's to blame for that.
Right. That's a good answer. That's a good Watergate answer,
Yeah,
so to
that
speak.
makes sense. I have two
I
more
take the-
questions. So when you do, well, let me ask the long range. So phase 2 study, we do that repair work. How long, what's the shelf life for something like that?
That's an interesting question. Shelf life for a phase 2 study.
Well, I mean,
In terms
not
of
necessarily the study, but the
the
construction
data.
work that comes after that.
Oh, the repair work.
Mhm.
Well, that should last several generations at least. I mean, that's a really good question. A lot of infrastructure is sort of design life is like 50 years,
Mhm.
just like say a highway bridge or something like that, so, concrete does have a life, and if it's concrete that you replace that whole system with, given that it's up against water all the time, it's in a wet environment, 50 years is probably a good estimate of that. If it's well maintained, it could last well beyond that. Modern concrete is designed to resist the freeze and thaw actions that we see here in the Northeast. So, we would hope that it would hold up quite well.
Thanks. That's a long time. And then my other question is, what's the time between? So we do this work now to get our status out of unsafe, and then about how much, like, is there any state imposed deadlines to go from 4 to whatever the next tier is?
They haven't. I don't think they've mandated anything yet in the
Mhm.
order that their immediate order was an emergency action to get to this point. So I expect once we get this first repair done, they're probably going to issue another order.
Mhm.
And it could happen before then, but they're probably going to issue an order that includes the phase 2 and then periodic inspections, just to make sure the dam is, somebody keeps an eye on the dam. And then it's a matter of, and so the phase 2 takes a few months because it's extensive. We're going to have to get a boring contractor out there to do, well, whoever does the phase 2 is going to need to get a boring contractor out there to do some drilling in the dam, take samples, and then the whole study. It's a few months of work, and you come out with an extensive report, detailed report, and data that can be used for a design. It includes a full topographic survey of the dam and bathymetry upstream of the dam in the lake. So it's very extensive, and everything is intended to be turned around and used for design work.
Okay.
For a repair. The design process will take a few more months, and then there's permitting involved. And then that could be extensive because we're probably looking at doing a more significant drawdown. And if depending on what the plan is, there could be some dredging of material out of the lake to clear it off the dam. And actually excavating the embankment material that's underwater may be considered dredged material. So there's going to be permitting around that. And we've got endangered species, so we have to deal with natural heritage on that. So
that's really involved.
Yeah, it's all very involved. So we're because this is kind of a critical situation, we push as hard as we can, but hopefully within maybe a year from this repair, you can get, and if you can get the funding lined up, you can get somebody under contract to make the real long-term repair.
Okay.
Just to sum up, that long-term repair is going to cost what? Some ungodly number, right? I mean,
hundreds of thousands, yes.
Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, most likely.
I mean, we can basically plan on it's going to cost us. I mean, there's going to be a class 2 report. I think we're calling it, and that's very, very likely at this point to indicate that we have to do costly repairs. So in terms of our thinking, we should be planning on spending a lot of money, whether it's grant money or whose ever money it is, but it's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars before this is all up. I mean, we're really talking now about we have to solve this problem right now, obviously, but in terms of solving the problem in a big way, that's going to be in the future and in the not too distant future, and it's going to be very expensive.
Yeah, and I am being conservative and telling you high numbers.
Sure, no, I get that.
The phase 2 evaluation could find that things are better than they look. It's just we don't know without doing the explorations and the analyses, and that maybe there's a more surgical way to make this repair to the low level outlet and make some other repairs that would seal the dam so that it's not leaking like it is right now.
And I think, like you said, it sounds like, obviously this is very expensive, and I don't think I think that piece has been said, but it sounds like we have an opportunity to do something that will last us the next 50 years. So hopefully that's some preventative maintenance.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I mean, part of the opportunity is that you're eligible for grant funding.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a priority project because of the sort of emergency nature of it, and
the grant that you submitted the application for is that just to cover the design portion of a phase 2 study, or would that include construction costs? I can't remember if you said that.
It was just for the study. The technical assistance grant only funds studies and evaluations. So it doesn't fund any design, permitting, or construction. So it could fund the phase 2 study. Mm-hmm. And then in early 2026, we expect the dam and seawall grant application window to be open again for either design and permitting or construction. So it's I mean, it's never good to have a dam emergency, but it's kind of good timing in terms of when grant windows open
Right.
to maybe be
True.
able to use some initial information from the phase two to then seek a new round of dam and seawall grant funding.
And it sounded like, Nat, from what you said earlier, that we have maybe about like a year or so before all those pieces are gonna come together and we know what we're gonna have to do construction wise. So,
Yeah, what I'm saying is that if, when assuming you get the technical assistance grant for the phase two, that's going to take probably 3 months to do all that. You come out at the end of that with a preferred alternative, and then you're going to need to have an engineer do a design on that, and you'll probably use that to go for grant money to do design and permitting for that preferred alternative. And that's probably going to take 9 months to a year. And I mean, to actually, assuming you get the money from EEA and then
right.
line up what other funding to actually do that work is 9 months to a year. And then you're going to turn around after that and say, we've got a turnkey project ready to go. Let's seek construction money from the grant programs.
And it's
Okay.
pretty common to go to dam and seawall a couple of times, to go for design and permitting funding, and then the next year go for construction funding. That's very common to go back to the well for different phases of work over a period of 2 to 3 or 4 years,
It's
based
really
off
set
these
up for that.
projects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's not like a poor reflection on the town.
No,
No,
that's
no,
really how
no.
it's designed to work.
Okay.
No, the
I
fact that
think-
you are sitting up and paying attention to this, and maintaining communication with the Office of Dam Safety, they like that. And I think that goes in your favor when you go to apply for grant money. You can report all that in your application.
Well, like I said to you before, you've made it very easy for us, and I really appreciate all the extra work and coming to this short notice. It's really helpful to have you guys on board.
Glad to hear it. Glad to be able to do it.
That was a great information and a nice overview. Eric, did you have any other questions before we vote on signing the
No?
I
Oh,
do have a
Mark,
question.
Mark Rivers has one I noticed there.
Mark?
This is probably for Haley. Part of the funding that we already received was from a Community Preservation Act funds. Do we need to go circle back with them to indicate that we're going to be changing the use of that money?
I think we might want to just loop them in that the project
Yeah, I
scope
think
has
so, yeah.
changed, and we can give them these materials from GZA. I think before you, I don't know, does GZA, do you want to be cut loose? I don't think I have any more questions for you.
I don't. Eric? No.
No, I'm all set. I appreciate the answers and your thoughts, even though they're expensive, potentially expensive.
Sorry, owning a dam is not.
I think we should know. We gotta know.
Yeah, you need to know. But owning a dam is not a cheap undertaking. It's
No,
a
really.
lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
So
Especially if you have a historic one.
yeah.
Mark, I see your hand again. Mark?
You're muted if you're trying to say something.
I'm sorry. This is a question for Nate, and you don't have to give a definitive answer, but someone in town is going to be asking, how long is the lake going to be down for 5 feet? Is that
Well, that's a good question. Like I said, DCR is reviewing the preliminary plan that we submitted. Once we get comments back from them and any changes we need to make, we can update it. We can update the cost estimate if needed, and then in the meantime, hopefully, we're going to be able to help you line up some funding through the dam seawall program. The conversations that Adrian said she's trying to have with them. So if we get that, I'm hoping we can get this repaired sometime by mid-January. This is tough. These are tough conditions to work in because of the cold, but it has to be done. It's a pretty isolated project, so it's right there in front of the gatehouse. It's all concentrated in that area. If all goes well and we get it all done the way we have envisioned it, we hope to be able to raise the lake up right after that, back to the winter pool. In terms of restoring it to summer pool, I don't know. I think we're going to have to do a little trial and error when that time comes, and be out there to monitor what we see. I think this solution is going to be a good temporary solution, because it'll take all the pressure off the upstream face of the dam and allow all the water to have a preferential path that's non-erodible. And that's kind of the key thing. So yeah, hopefully mid-January, end of January, we can have that all done and get the lake back up.
Thank you.
Let's assume I'm a pessimist. So let's assume the worst possible case that wouldn't happen. And maybe Mark would know the answer to this. What does that do to the boating situation, the recreational use of the lake? If, let's say, we could bring everything back up to 2 feet below the summer pool or whatever, what does that do to the whole situation?
It certainly doesn't affect fishing or fishing out of boats. I don't think it's going to have any real effect on kind of normal summer activities. One area I would be concerned with is that I believe there are a number of camps around the lake that still have shallow water wells. And I know one specifically that when the lake goes down 2 feet, they don't have any water. And and I'm not sure how widespread that is at this stage. I only know of one specific camp, and there used to be many. So that could be a problem in that is the access to water for the camps. Other than that, I don't getting boats in and out will be trickier because the boat ramp is already kind of in a little bit of a deteriorated situation, and so with the water down 2 feet, it's going to be harder to get boats in on a regular basis, especially day boaters who come up for the day and aren't familiar with the very low water levels. So there's a number of things I think we have to ask a number of other people what the implications of a year-round 2-foot drawdown.
Well, I think that's something we can tackle on the town side, and I think we'll just have to look at, we don't want to scare people into thinking that they're not going to have a good summer, but I think we definitely want to let people know ahead of time that this might be something to expect, so that there might be some surprises, but if we can lessen the surprise impact, so maybe we want to plan some outreach to the lake.
Okay. I think we're ready. The select board's ready to vote to sign on that. Nate, I think you and Adrian can duck off while we have our vote, and then we'll sign it and get it to you. Haley has had a solution for us to be able to sign it electronically to get it to you, so you'll have it within a little bit.
Great.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thanks for your expertise.
Yes, we appreciate it very much.
You're welcome. Take care.
Thank you.
Right.
All right.
Eric, do I hear a motion?
The
To,
motion, yeah, okay, say it now. I'll say yes.
okay, let me just log on to let me just open up the agreement again. I had it up to here once. Let's see. Um, okay. To sign the GZA proposal for Lake Wyola Dam Contract Amendment Number 2, Emergency Services.
So moved.
Um, I'll second that since there is only two of us. And all those in favor?
Stalker, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. Yeah, perfect. Haley, did you would it's in our folder from last night's meeting. Do you want me to sign that electronically or do you send it to me?
No, if you can just do the one I sent you earlier.
Okay.
And I while before you leave, I did speak to Gail today about how we might deal with these construction costs. So I think it would be a good idea if you could also declare an emergency under Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 31, because that will allow us to deficit spend to do the repair work. And then we can always, if we get the grant or if we identify some other opportunities, Gail, so we can backfill and put that back into the general funds.
Can you give me the
But,
Mass General Law quote again?
Yep, it's Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 31. And so that gives the spending authority the ability to deficit spend to address the emergency.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we declare state of emergency for the Lake Wyola Dam for in accordance with Mass General Law 44, Section 31, so that we're able to appropriately spend funding on the repairs.
So moved.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Stalker, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. Was there anything else we needed to do?
I don't think so. I think I would just highlight that, like what Nat said, we're Lenny and everyone like really on top of it. So as much as this is a huge cost to the town, we're optimistic, I think, that we'll get some grant funding, but at least we're managing this and we're not putting it off to the wayside to deal with like during the summer months, like which would be terrible.
Yeah, no, true. True. And before spring, snow melt and all of that too, right? So we are ahead of it.
Yeah, the fact that we're quite right on it is indicative of us paying attention to the whole situation all the time, which is, I think,
Yes.
very helpful as far as the state's concerned.
And Walter getting in the
Yes.
wetsuit and
Yeah, absolutely.
finding that.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
yeah, and listen, just listening to Howie, the dam keeper, and to Walter, and hey, there's a problem here, and taking it seriously at that moment and being proactive and not reactive. In this case, slightly reactive because of the holes that have appeared, but trying to be as proactive as possible. So, kudos to everybody. All right. So, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second that. So, all in favor?
Stalker, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
All right.
All right.
All right. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.